Dodge Chrysler Jeep.
Live from Southwest Florida's news source, this is Fox 4 News at 6.
He's blowing smoke up our we've asked a lot of questions. They have no answers for us.
Still no answers for a family mourning the loss of their son. Chaz Minor died a week after his family called 911 as he was going into cardiac arrest back in December. Since then, his family's been fighting for answers after a Fox 4 investigation discovered that the ambulance was delayed 6 minutes because the crew was vacuuming and the radios weren't working. After weeks of being ignored today, Collier County EMS finally agreed to meet with the family behind closed doors.
And it ended with the cops being called. 4 in Your Corner's Matt Grant standing by live to show you why.
Well, Patrick, Emily, your tax dollars paid Collier County EMS to investigate that delay, but they won't share the results of that investigation with you or the family. EMS Chief Walter Kopka, who's been stonewalling us for weeks, invited the Minards to a private meeting today, but instead of answering their questions, he called the police.
There's no news.
I'm not going to let the media come in with me.
I'm sorry, no.
When will Walter Kopka talk to us?
I'm sorry, there's no news.
For 3 weeks, we've tried to get answers from Collier EMS Chief Walter Kopka, but our attempts have been stonewalled. So when the chief invited the Minards to a closed-door meeting, the family was hopeful they'd finally get the answers they were promised last month.
When we know those details, we can certainly talk about that with the family.
Despite the fact EMS finished its investigation into why 6 critical minutes passed before an ambulance even left the station, EMS won't release its findings. Public records we obtained show the county didn't follow proper procedure, and the station's radios weren't working properly that week. Documents also show the crew was in separate areas of the station, cleaning and running the vacuum at the time they were supposed to be dispatched.
I came here today for accountability, answers and accountability. It's time people stand up for what they did.
No news.
Since we weren't allowed in, we waited outside, and it didn't take long before a family member stormed out, frustrated with the chief.
He's blowing smoke up our we've asked a lot of questions. They have no answers for us.
15 minutes later, a sheriff's deputy arrives telling us he was called in for crowd control. This grieving father says the chief called the cops on him because he was asking too many questions.
Said we were being disruptive and we had to leave. There was no yelling, there was no loud voices.
I wanted to talk to Kopka, but a deputy summoned me over, and that's when the chief slipped out.
He jumped in his truck and ran like a coward.
The Minards came brimming with concerns they say weren't addressed, and photos of their son they say the chief wouldn't even look at. More than anything, the family just wants assurance it won't happen to anyone else.
Just ask for accountability, you know, what we were going to do, how we were going to make changes.
Not getting any response from the EMS chief, the family tried talking to his boss, County Manager Leo Oakes, but he's not talking either, refusing to say why the people who could have saved his son's life were cleaning at a time when they were needed most.
Leo Oakes, you're a coward. I think people need to be held accountable from Leo Oakes all the way down to the vacuum cleaner.
We called Oakes' office again today after waiting in his office for an hour last Wednesday and calling again Thursday and Friday of last week. We want to know if it's acceptable the way the Minards are being treated. We have yet to hear back. Live in the newsroom, Matt Grant, Fox 4 in your corner.